Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 41st installment of the Galen Data Medical Device Innovation Webinar Series. I'll be your host today. My name is Dwayne Mancini. I'm the CEO at Project MedTech. Today, we'll be hearing from Christoph Beck, CEO of mdeg, for a conversation on connecting your medical device to the cloud. And we'll also be hearing from Abbas Dilawala, who's CTO of Galen Data. Some of the key takeaways you'll be hearing about today are how to securely and how to build a secure and compliant connectivity solutions for active medical devices that are already available, learn how to connect existing devices or legacy devices securely and compliantly, learn how to classify and specify the connectivity part within your system architecture, and we'll hear some success stories and avoid typical traps and failures. But first, a few housekeeping slides and information on Galen Data. Galen Data is an FDA-compliant cloud for medical device manufacturers. The Galen Cloud provides a configurable platform for device-to-cloud connectivity that is compliant to FDA, HIPAA, and CE mark standards. The company is ISO 13485 certified, and the product on AWS is high trust certified as well. Founded by seasoned medical device professionals, the company's goal is to make medical device cloud connectivity available to all at a fraction of the cost while shaving months off the development timeline. Galen Data allows medical device companies to stay medical device companies and not become IT companies. One request as well is if you're interested in more content around the cloud and connected medical devices and also this webinar series, if you want to head over to LinkedIn and give Galen Data a follow, you'll see a lot more updates in this specific space. Finally, some quick logistics. If you are looking to drop some questions into the chat for Christoph or Abbas, you can do that on your control panel here. I'll be monitoring the questions throughout. If they're super pertinent to the conversation, excuse me, right away, I'll plug them in. If not, we'll save them for the end. And then there are also a few handouts here as well that are available for you to download. There's more information on Galen Data, and there's also a white paper that Galen Data wrote on device connectivity. And actually one more note as well is that there will be a recording of this webinar sent to you via email. Also can be found on Galen Data's LinkedIn, YouTube. So feel free to watch this back again should you have any additional questions, and don't hesitate to reach out to Galen Data with any additional questions as well. So with that being said, I'll turn the floor over to Christoph and Abbas here for maybe quick introductions to yourselves, and then Christoph, it's all you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to join here in the webinar. It's great to be part of it, and I'm an electrical engineer, and now for more than 18 years in the medical industry, and have had various positions, from the position to project management to management positions in startups and corporate businesses. And what I've learned is that connectivity and digitalization in total is a very complex process for both smaller companies or startup companies, but also corporates. And this is where the idea for mdeg grew, to found a company that tries to connect medical devices with as generic as possible solution. And so mdeg is a company that basically does this connectivity, individual and general connectivity, from the connect box is what you see here in section 2, but also the cloud solution. And then cloud is a big topic, and this is where I met Galen. And Abba, over to you for your introduction.
Sure. Thanks, Christoph. Thanks for being on the webinar. My name is Abbas Dilawala. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Galen Data. As Christoph mentioned, very similar journey. My background is software engineering, about 18 years of healthcare medical device software, and we kind of saw the same need, but from the cloud side, to allow data to be collected, processed, visualized, shared, and integrated with other platforms. In a way that's as generic as possible, that still applies to all medical devices, and that is compliant both from a design perspective, but also from an operational perspective, cybersecurity perspective. So that's what we built as a Galen Cloud, as you see here in the cloud section. I'm happy to have this partnership with Christoph and mdeg.
Okay, Christoph, kick it over to you for some of your slides here.
Yeah, thanks. First slide was basically the question, why do I want connectivity? Thanks. And this is basically the root question for every company, and we all are connected nearly 24/7. When do we switch off our phones to flight mode? And this is yeah, this is something we do in the plane maybe, or in the night when we really want to be offline. And the question is, what can we do with our phones when we are offline? We still see so many devices in the market, medical devices, diagnostic devices, that are offline by design. And there are good reasons for that, but we also see that the world has changed or is changing constantly. So the the benefits of connected devices are always there. Of course, we have multiple perspectives when we look at the digitization process, now focusing on medical and diagnostic devices. And the perspectives are usually patient, for the patient that can receive better patient care through improved devices, faster results. Results that are in the cloud are basically everywhere. The MDs can download the results and have instant discussion. We can talk about remote monitoring, remote consultancy. We usually have also better performance of the devices with better results, like more higher precision of the results, but also the opportunity with the connectivity to send patients home earlier, outpatient, but monitored, connected, still connected. So they are not offline, they're not away, they are still somehow connected, and doctors can maybe based on monitoring, see what the data is about, the health data, the device data, how the usage is, and can monitor very closely. And this gives a lot of opportunity for devices, but also for the patient. And this is the overall objective. What we see is to improve patient care. There is another perspective. The second one is the medical staff. The medical staff is also used to use smartphones, tablets, computers, cloud solutions to open applications in the browser, or to have connected information pathways. So that is all there. The remote monitoring, as said, is one important thing, but remote is a big word. So also, for example, remote work, so that the doctors can work at home. So for instant situations where now the doctors are still called in to the clinic, and so they have to get up maybe during the night and then sit in their car, go to the clinic, attend for a visit. And now there is one step before, so the doctor can maybe log into its tablet and see some medical data before then attending the patient. So there is some convenience coming to the market, and we see that this is an increasing demand from the medical staff. Very interesting also automation, of course. Automated result generation, automated report sent to the doctors, sent to the hospital information system, to the PDMSs. What is very convenient to the MDs, of course, and taking away the need to type in manually. So that clouds interact with each other from different vendors. This is so much effort to transport the data manually. This is what we still see in the operations theater sometimes, that there is a rolling paper and someone with a pen is writing, and then there's a nurse at the end of the surgery coming in, taking the paper roll out, and then manually transmitting the data. But the real benefit is in the automation, where we merge the data then, and that means that the devices need connectivity. And then the third perspective is basically the manufacturer, because those are the ones who have to enable all that. Those are the ones doing the first step in the digitalization process with their devices by providing the technology that is necessary. We had this example with the smartphone before. The smartphone has a Wi-Fi interface, has a cellular interface, has a Bluetooth interface, and we can tap the flight mode button and to get offline, and the same we have to have in the medical devices. Now, the manufacturer has a big interest, of course, not only to enable the digitalization process, but also to get data out of the devices themselves. For example, one of the highest demands is what we see is the remote service. The remote service is something that makes, in best case, the cost center of a service into a profit center. And the servicing machines, their devices, like if you have an installed base of 300, 400 devices, the installed base to be serviced is difficult if you have to go there. Every time someone is calling, then there is a whole process from the device being in a clinic, someone recognizing there is a problem, and then reporting the problem in a formal way, and then there is this service engineer in the clinic, then reporting this problem to the manufacturer. That is best case. But we have also seen a room with 20 similar devices, all broken. So they just bought more devices and put them aside. And if there is a certain amount of suspicious devices, I would say not always broken, but suspicious devices, then they call the service. And then the service engineer from the manufacturer takes his car, travels to the clinic, and fixes all those machines. And having the option to see device data in the cloud as a service engineer is greatly facilitating the service. And what we recognize is that we have very confident service engineers usually when they say, give us some data, and we exactly know what the device's problem is. And sometimes it's a restart necessary, sometimes there is a fix necessary, but usually they are very confident about how the device behaves. They know their installed bases. They know the differences between the versions of the device, and they are really interested in the data from the device, like error messages or startup times, self-test reports, calibration data. This is what they are really interested in, and what they then use in turn to optimize their service. They can easily decide, usually they can easily decide if a device is broken and needs physical attendance. So the device is sent then to the manufacturer, or the service engineer goes to the clinic, or if the service engineer, the technical service staff from the clinic can fix it. Maybe there is a replacement part necessary, so they can send it before they travel to the clinic. So that is one of the highest demands we see in the manufacturing. But another very important topic is from the regulatory department, because when they recognize there is data from the device, then we see post-market surveillance data that is instantly interesting to quantify the post-market surveillance reports. If you have, just for an example, I have 100 devices out in one clinic, and you collect all the the messages from those devices, and you see that the error message of the devices is a very low quantity. And then you can say in your post-market report, we have a number of error messages. We checked every individual message, all fine so far. This is from the medical device. If you go to the diagnostic devices, then they have to have a performance evaluation over their installed base. And usually we see also that the quantification of the diagnosis, the overall devices, is helping for the performance evaluation.
Hey, Christoph, real quick too, I think that you brought up regulatory and even more specifically like the MDR, the IVDR as well. But one place that my head went to, I know you kind of covered manufacturer, you covered clinical research and regulatory, but I think this is also a crucial role in commercialization efforts for folks as well. If it makes data collection easier, is that also something that you kind of see companies, because that's where my head goes, is right to what could quite possibly be the hardest thing any startup has to do, which is actually sell their really cool thing once they've developed it. And so are there use cases in terms of, or is it advantageous for some of these manufacturers to be connected to the cloud so that they can now take in data that they can then repurpose for marketing, sales, those types of things?
Yeah, this is what we see. We see new business models that the data is used, as you said, for clinical research, but also for the research to develop a second version, a next version, based on the data that is delivered by the devices, and but also that you can introduce a license model post-market. So we can upgrade the devices in the market based on the same hardware. And so a startup has a great opportunity to go out early with the first version and then add functions on the go in the market. So there are no business models.
Even existing business models, so if you have the traditional consumables, like a device and a consumables, one of the things with data you can do is track the use of consumables. So you can allow your sales department to kind of track, know when to ship an additional branch or when to reach out for, and you also see where your consumables are used. So it allows you in inventory management, allows you in forecasting, so things like that. So not even agree new business models where it's pay per use, but also existing models where we have those kind of needs.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think that it's probably really important. Larger companies have a lot of human resources, right, to sell things, but early stage startups, this is an area of, for Project MedTech where some of our companies would struggle, is we could use data to help us be a little bit more informed, because once you land an account, I think, Abbas, what you just described is really interesting. So I think, Christoph, the next subject I think we were kind of moving into was, what are the current challenges that you see in this market? Do you want to start touching on some of that?
Yeah, would love to. So the current challenges we see in the market is basically that it is a very, very complex topic. The digitalization process in total incorporates pretty much everything from the business model, as we said, data-driven business modeling that can emerge out of that digitalization process. We see that the products are affected by hardware and by software. We see that the internal and processes are affected, and that the employees have to learn to handle that digitalization features. As Abbas said, the supply chain, for example. So then it's no longer that we have a paper form, but everything is automated. Usually we don't have to take calls to order new stuff, new material, but everything we have to double check in a dashboard, for example, who uses what, and then maybe build on top of what we see in the dashboards of who's using what. We could think of what might also be interesting for these persons. So the communication kind of changes, and it's much more digitized, as much more incorporating computer use and smartphone use. And so that is, so the employees also have usually to change a bit. Then, as said, it's so multidimensional. We need new competencies for the technical development, like interfacing cybersecurity. From the legal side, it's different, data privacy, but also the technologies we have to use. We have to suddenly all the interface technologies and manage them, like Wi-Fi, like Bluetooth, maybe cellular, maybe now LTE, these ultra low power wideband area networks, serial cable bound interfaces. And then also it's the experience. It's a step in the new from the roadmap. Manufacturers are usually very good in producing their medical device, but that is a complete new area of technologies. So that's new. So they have to build it up. That is one of the biggest challenges as we see. The whole complexity, and that incorporates so many different topics and set disciplines, competencies, technologies. And then in the end, it's never fast to implement it, and usually, we have to have a certain budget to implement the whole building bricks until we have a standing connectivity, a standing cloud, and then the full potential to develop the features that are then facilitating and improve the service, for example, or improving patient care. And well, basically, you always have the need for a complete solution. And I think this is exactly where the idea for mdeg came up, and the idea from Galen came up. We said as mdeg, we need the connectivity, but we are now experts for connecting devices, connecting medical and diagnostic devices. And basically, that is a whole own discipline. And as well as Abbas saying, we have now a fully certified cloud solution. So those are the building bricks, and it took us years to develop those building bricks. And if you as a small company, as a startup company, but even as a corporate, have to do that alone, then this is a real challenge. And I've seen that the real big companies, the big corporates, they have their own IT departments and R&D departments to face that problem. And of course, if you're a big corporate, you could manage that a bit easily from the budget side, not from the political side. But they also then faced another big challenge we see in the market, and that is that we have different life cycles. The life cycle of the medical device can last up to 15 years. But imagine what happened on the interfacing technology and cloud side in the last 15 years. So this is not that we see a single solution being developed for a single or a family of medical devices, and then it's done. We have to maintain it, and basically we have to exchange the technology underneath very regularly. Like 15 years ago, Wi-Fi was different. BLE was not there yet in the market. The cellular, we still used 3G and started using 4G. Now we have LTE, for example, LTE-M standard to exchange the data. In the past, we had to have, and the cellular interface, we had one SIM for one device. Now we can group devices. We don't have to have necessarily one SIM with one contract with a standing subscription for a single device. So that has also changed a lot. Then I remember that 2015, I created an IoT solution for a device on Azure. And it took us 2 years to bring the device on the market. And in that time, I created the Azure solution 3 times. And that is a very challenging topic to have those different life cycles. The long-lasting life cycle of the medical device, where you don't want to have too much change, and you want to have your medical performance and maintain it, like your diagnostic device. You want to have your diagnosis, and that shall be performant and reliable over the years. And then in the back, the technology changes very fast. And then last but not least, what we see is that if the company is in the market for quite some time, then you have legacy devices in the market, you have current devices in the market, and you have basically probably a new version in your roadmap or in your pipeline to be marketed soon. So that is also very, very difficult to have legacy devices, current devices as installed base, with all the drivers and connectivity issues for those devices. And I think that's also very challenging. If you have hardware in your medical device and you change the hardware, even if it's just the interface technology of your device. And this is how we started mdeg, that we basically said, we want to have a piece of hardware, a piece of electronic like that. Just you attach it to your device, and you can easily exchange it. And the medical device, the diagnostic device, can be the same, but the technology in the back can change because it's an enabling technology. It's adding. It's like the engine in the car. You want to drive your car, everything is the same. You just change the engine. Have the same performance, same feature set.
Yeah, so 2 questions, and then actually one from an audience member as well. And maybe Christoph, you take a piece of this, and Abbas, you take the other half. So I guess where my head goes is with connected medical devices. I mean, there's a lot of things, but especially when it comes to the hospital, only because of the fact that hospitals have been hacked before, and so cybersecurity is a big deal for them. There's stories of companies we've been working with where we've went through a value analysis committee meeting and everything got approved, and then we walk into another meeting and the IT department's there, and there's like 30 some people in the room, and you're like, whoa, there's more people here in this room than there was to approve the use of the product just at a high level, right? And so part of my question is maybe walk me through like hospitals' hesitation, Christoph, for your piece, which is like getting them connected, and then Abbas from your piece, which is the cloud aspect of it, of what are their hesitations, maybe validating why they are concerned sometimes. And so those are the 2 questions. The question from the audience, I don't know who this goes to, but it might be in one of your answers, is how open have hospitals been with allowing devices to access their LAN as first step to reaching the cloud? So go ahead.
Okay, great. Maybe we can show the slide. We process sensitive medical data for you, which is I think it's 2 before, maybe 3 before, where we yes, exactly. Yeah. So first of all the concerns we experienced in the past were concerns regarding cybersecurity, regulatory, and then of course the matter of who's responsible for it. And in the past we've seen that many hospitals had their own server racks, and they said anything that we use runs on these servers, and we don't use open clouds or clouds from the internet. And that has changed significantly because first of all, I think everybody recognized that the IT staff of a hospital the group is always too small. Everybody's lacking IT competencies in the hospital. So then the cloud developed in a good way in the internet. So that's a second development we've seen. The third one is that most clinics now have Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi is so much easier to maintain. And our ConnectBox is using Wi-Fi primarily to send data. So what we say usually to the clinics before we go into these big meetings, please give us a guest Wi-Fi. Give us the Wi-Fi that the patients use to watch Netflix. We take the data directly from the medical device, from the diagnostic device. We encrypt it on the ConnectBox, and then we tunnel it on any unsecure route on our responsibility to the cloud. This is what we usually do. And then IT staff says, okay, great. Here we have, I don't know, firewalls, MAC filters, DMZs, whatever. Here are your options to connect to our Wi-Fi. Go for it. And they don't even track then our devices. That makes it very easy for them. They don't have any maintenance. First, they don't have any responsibilities. Second, and we have the full potential. Third, that is making it easy. From the regulatory perspective, what we see is that also we take usually the responsibility from the device to the cloud, and that makes their life easier too. And then when the data is in the cloud, it's in responsibility of the cloud. And so in our past conversations with the hospitals, we came around these big meetings. So Abbas, when we send the data to the cloud, then I think, now it's your 50% of the question.
Yeah, so I mean, to address that question specifically, I think hospitals have been very open because, again, hospitals have moved to the cloud for most of their IT now runs in the cloud. So 15 years ago, it's a different story. Now it's a different story. I think it all comes down to risk, right? So what data are we taking out, and what controls we have in place? So as Christoph mentioned, controls directly on the device, like encryption and access control. Once we move the data into the cloud, what controls and what security guarantees we can give. So we have a lot of customers that are in hospitals that we take data from and store in the cloud. Part of what we do is provide that security. We have high trust certification for that exact reason, is to provide a kind of a third-party certification that we have all the right controls, and we take cybersecurity as the ultimate thing. We also share liability on that aspect. So yes, IT people will be concerned, but we give you the answers to them, or we give the answers to them, and on that aspect, and kind of comfort level to meet the comfort level in terms of moving data. Also depends if you're pulling data, you're pushing data into EMRs. The more you interact with data, the higher the questions, but most of the time the questions are answerable with the certifications we have and with the controls we have in place.
That's great. Awesome. And so I think we answered the LAN question, right? Within there, Christoph, I believe you did answer that. So that's great. And then we actually had another question come in, and it was good foreshadowing. But it was, could you give us an example, success story of how the two solutions of mdeg and Galen data work together in the market? We will get there eventually here. That is part of today's presentation. So good question though. So I guess while we're on this one, Christoph, I mean, do we kind of, it might be helpful because the question here that I just asked was kind of around the hospital systems and why they're nervous. What are some of these other requirements for this data exchange process, right? I think to myself, like, we talk about the regulatory aspects of all this. But then I've seen on multiple slides, and I read it in Galen Data's opening, right? High trust certified.
Yeah.
That's, for someone who's not as involved, what does that mean? And so, and then I think about, medical data and HIPAA. And so there's a lot of things at play here to keep the patients safe, right? And so just what else should we be thinking about in terms of the requirements for the exchange of this data?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you. And that's what you said is the first priority always, to keep the patient safe, and then everything else. And all the regulatory part of it is around that. Is all the consideration of the entire system, or particular installments or particular functions to keep the patient safe. And there are various measures to do so. So what we said in the beginning was MDR or IVDR, which is the regulatory framework for the European Union to develop a safe medical or diagnostic device. The FDA provides the same one or similar for the US, and it results in a quality management system for the development. And then it breaks down into other regulations. For example, what we see here for our Connect boxes, for example, is the FCC for the wireless interfaces. We can't just add any wireless interface to it and say we're happy and we want to use it. Everything has to go on through testing, professional testing in certified labs, and the CE mark incorporates, for example, the measurement of the emission that we do, the electrical emission. We must not interfere with other devices. And you can imagine if we have a Wi-Fi interface, it's different to a Bluetooth interface or a BLE interface, or if we have a cellular interface. Everything, and that's for example one thing. If you go to Australia, you have the regulatory compliance mark. It's different again. If you go to Canada, then it's different. You have the ISET. If you go to Japan, China, Brazil, it's always a bit different. Usually we can take a lot of our reports, a lot of our paperwork we can take to compile the dossier for the application, but every market has then its individual rules. And that is changing a lot, especially when we talk about cybersecurity. That is very dynamic at the moment. So what we see, for example, is that there is this FDA pre-market and post-market guidance. That was one of the first ones, and then the National Institute of Standards and Technology that came with more and more standards, and then the UL came out with standards, and then the HIPAA came out, and the high trust certification to show that you're compliant to the HIPAA. And now, just in the last year, the NIST released another regulation or standard, for example, a publication that provides guidance on cybersecurity considerations for Internet of Things devices, which is very specific. So there's a lot going on, and I think the takeaway here is that the consideration has to be very current. There's always necessary to research what is current and what is the near future. If we start developing today and try to release within the next 18 months, now we should have today a research for what is coming up soon. And that is a new approach, because that can be a game changer. FDA has just released a paper, maybe Abbas, you can elaborate on that a bit, that you have a cybersecurity consideration with each technical dossier.
Yeah, I mean, FDA is getting very serious. They got the authority officially in last year's budget to be able to enforce cybersecurity. And since then, they have produced a guidance last year. And then some updates recently, and actually just last week they put out a proposed update that clarifies some of the things. But cybersecurity is they have a refusal to accept policy. So if you don't include cybersecurity documentation as required, they won't even take your ticket dossier. Also, just to clarify on from an FDA's perspective at least, I think MDR is going in that direction as well, as the FDA considers a cyber device. That's a term they use. Any device that has software, regardless whether it's connected to the internet or not. If you have a software and device, which today's world, I mean, that's a lot of devices. They all consider cyber devices. So cybersecurity is a requirement for all devices that have any piece of software.
Yeah, and that they are taking it seriously is can be seen that the White House announced the cybersecurity label program, I think it was called, and when the Biden-Harris administration announces, it's very important that it's taken very seriously.
Christoph, real quick, can you repeat? You froze once you said the Biden-Harris administration, and then you froze. Can you just repeat that?
There you go.
We might have.
Yeah.
Christoph, can you hear us?
Sorry, I had a lack in my line. Maybe Abbas, you can quickly answer that question to see if.
Yeah, so I mean, a couple of things. There's a presidential directive, I guess, on implementing cybersecurity across different industries that they have identified as key industries. Healthcare is one of those, along with others, defense and aerospace and stuff like that. So yeah, cybersecurity is becoming more and more for good reasons. I mean, we see every day something, and I just saw a report today about AT&T potentially getting hacked. So I mean, everything is online and everything gets has a cyber aspect to it. So cybersecurity providing the right controls is super important, and the regulatory bodies are now enforcing those kind of things.
Yeah, I think that's, boss, that's a primary concern with a lot of these places, which is you brought up AT&T, right? And I haven't read the story, but I'm assuming that had to do with the mass outage they had just recently in the last so many weeks. I forget when it was, but like that is, yeah, I think the most famous example of all this is the WannaCry hacking, right? And that's the fear, is that that doesn't just affect a system, but it affects all the devices that are potentially connected somewhere within there, right? So
okay, there was a little storm on the Atlantic Sea, I think. So, but I'm back.
Yeah, perfect.
I think the threat model has changed. The threat model earlier, before devices were connected to the internet, was that you had to be on site to do something. And now the threat model is that from anywhere on the world you can hack. So of course the criminal energy is there, and of course they do whatever they can, and they don't have to be on site. So that has changed, and this is why we need to answer those threat models with better cybersecurity.
Yeah, so maybe this is a good opportunity then, Christoph and Abbas, to kind of walk through some of the other slides here, and I'm thinking more or less, the Connect box, what the idea of it is, walking into kind of looking at how Connect box could feed into the future roadmap, and then maybe even doing like a little bit of the how this works with Galen data. And then before we wrap up too, we want to get into the mdeg starter kit as well. So anyways, Christoph, I don't know if you want to take it from there and kind of walk through some of that. That'd be great.
Yeah, would love to. Thanks. So what we see on this slide is we have a typical cloud scenario drafted. We have the hospital, we have the lab or private practice scenario, and the patient or the MD at home on the left-hand side. Those are the different scenarios where we need connectivity, and the technology we use can be very different. Also, the requirements can be very different. But anyway, we need the connectivity. So then we can exchange data from the device to the cloud, and the cloud then in our scenarios is always in the internet. We can then create nice features for patients, for MDs, for the clinical administration, for the service staff, or the ease and automate the supply chain. So then the fun starts really when there is the connectivity. And what we see, for example, in hospitals is what we discussed before, that we can ease the connectivity with our Connect box because everything is there, everything is established. We can showcase installation in various other hospitals. We can showcase the success stories, and that it is much less effort to maintain those devices. And also for the patient at home with LTE, that we can we don't have the requirement for the patient to do something. It's just that we send out the device, it's readily configured, it's ready for use, nothing to be done. And that is also safe and secure. This is what we see in the typical cloud scenarios, and this is covered by the collaboration between Galen Data and mdeg.
Great. Does it make sense to do kind of a little bit of a demo there at this point?
Yeah, we can sneak preview.
Great.
The good thing is that we can connect any product, legacy product, as well as next gen products. And on our home pages, Galen as well as mdeg, you see the demo, and there is the demo shows basically that we have a simulator that is simulating a device, a medical device, and that is then connecting to our Connect box. Now I only have the bare bones system. You can purchase it as a ready-made box with CE mark, or you can purchase it as a PCB, as a bare bone, and incorporate it in your own device. And then we send out some data, and what you see is that we monitor the device temperature. This is especially important for diagnostic devices when they have calibrated measurement systems. Then we really need to stay within a temperature threshold. But maybe you can say something to the graphs and the installation itself on the cloud.
Yeah, sure. So what we have right now is 2 Connect boxes that were integrated. Only one is online right now, which is what Christoph's simulator is sending data via. So this is 2 Connect boxes, but this is the one that's running. We kind of see the information here. This one is offline, so that's not working. But from this one DMX 0151, right now Christoph's simulator is just sending 2 streams of data. It can be any data. Right now we're just sending device data. There could also be patient medical data within the system. He's sending the temperature in Celsius over time, so we kind of see since this morning it's connected. It's sending. I can kind of zoom in to the right, so I can kind of see the constant temperature fluctuation that's being sent, and then this is the current temperature in 30 degrees Celsius, and then the battery. So you see this. I believe you're replacing batteries or recharging them, but you kind of see the drop and up that goes through that. So that we can kind of measure that battery. And then also he's sending a log every minute, something that's happened. So you kind of see that. You can keep tabs of things. Here battery went 0, so I started charging, charged back to 100, went to sleep, things like that. So this is again just showing device data, data from the actual device. Same stuff can be used to show or collect information. And this is very simple. I mean, as Christoph mentioned, you plug the Connect box into your device. and allow that device to be sending data through it. Through the cloud. It's all pre-packaged into that. Another thing that we have here is also firmware updates. So if you want to do over-the-air updates, for example, this is the version we have, but if we added a new version that's out there, we can upload that here, and through the Connect box, you can upload or you can update your firmware. So whether that's a legacy device that we need to pull it, or existing new devices that you're building, and you don't want to build out the connectivity piece of it, as Christoph mentioned, this can be purchased as a kit that you incorporate in your device, or as a standalone box for legacy devices that you can plug and play through the system. But it all comes pre-packaged, pre-connected to Galen. So the cloud connectivity piece is mostly solid. You start to configure it for your streams of data. So you want to say what data you're going to send, how you're going to send, but the underlying connectivity aspect is kind of pre-solved.
One thing to add is why we say plug and play, and this is a very bold statement in many industry. We do say it because the Connect box would accept a formatted JSON and do some checks on the JSON, and then that is very technical, forward it to the cloud. But that is what it's all necessary. It's so simple. It can't be more simple. The idea is that the engineers who want to create and craft a very nice, new, modern, cool medical device don't have to take care of connectivity anymore. So the kit can be used, as said, you just submit your formatted JSON to the Connect box, and the Connect box then encrypts the data, sends it to the Galen cloud, or we can also develop individual or custom device drivers. Both is what we did already. For example, once one customer wanted to have it as a BLE device, so that any his medical device within proximity would drop data to the Connect box, and the Connect box then is sending it to the cloud. Another one connected it via USB, so we have a galvanic separation on that board, so you can easily connect it to the USB and stay electrically safe and within the regulatory framework. And then we poll for data. So this is what you see here. Basically, the first is a medical device, and it was a legacy device. It was not possible to change it. So we used the service interface to query for data, and the same Connect box then was used for the current version. Again, we queried for the data, but we had more opportunities, more data to load from the device and then send to the cloud. And in future versions, they would probably incorporate just the module. Although it's not yet finally discussed, because as said, there are arguments for keeping the interface away from the device. You can say your device is not connected to the interface because it's our Connect box. You can say the technology changes faster than our device, so we would change then the Connect box, or you can keep it separated and buy it off the shelf as off-the-shelf product. You can also incorporate it with your own TD as a system component, but it's very fast and easy.
Yeah, Christoph, you mentioned one thing that I think a lot of people who are developing these new products are looking to connect their device to the cloud is important, and Galen hits this at the end of kind of the blurb I read about Galen, which is it allows medical device companies to stay medical device companies, right? Because becoming an IT company can be a distraction to the real mission for you. So I think that's important. So can you just briefly touch on, I think one of the last slides is the mdeg starter kit. I'm guessing that was kind of what you described here, where you have this Connect box that will that will flow right into the Galen data cloud right away, and now you're connected. Oh, there you go, connected within weeks, right? So maybe just kind of walk through this a little bit, or anything else that we missed from the original demo.
Well, as you said it so nicely, yeah, we want medical device companies to stay medical device companies, right? Because now we take over the connectivity part. Abbas and his team is taking over the cloud part. So the idea is from the starter kit is to make the first step, to have a real working showcase within weeks. This is the basic idea, and it's here we split it in 3 steps. So the first one is we would discuss with the team what we want and create kind of a little requirements profile, and we craft the solution, and you will see it's very simple. So it's easy to connect to the Connect box. Is easy to organize the data in the Galen cloud, to come up with nice graphs and lists and cards and charts and whatever you want. We can also, of course, take a look at our libraries. We have so many libraries with good code, with established code that we can reuse. And then you have a standing solution. Of course, it's an MVP. It's not able to be used in industry, but you have this solution to enjoy in the team and discuss what are the features you really need, and of course to present it for the stakeholder management, especially for when you need to convince management, the stakeholders like investors, or in a corporate, the C-level. And the customization is huge. Scalability is there, and we all do it at a fixed price because we want to take the responsibility of what we promise.
Yep. Abbas, anything to add there?
Yeah, same integration is few weeks. So that's mostly the customization aspect, understanding your kind of the data you want, the features you want to expose to that. But as Christoph mentioned, the Connect box is built under design controls, has CE mark, has all the VHF associated with it. The Galen cloud is also built under design controls. We are ISO 13484 certified. We have a full DHF. There was a question around, are we a soup? I would say no, because our provenance is known. So we're more like off-the-shelf software or off-the-shelf hardware in this aspect. So we both work for medical device companies. That's kind of we don't look at or anything else, and that's kind of the area we play in. And so compliance in terms of regulatory, in terms of privacy, security is all there, and really it's just mostly the plug and play aspect here is really important.
Yeah, that's great. So for those who are listening in, don't forget there's more information on both mdeg and Galen data on each one of their websites. You should also, again, I think at the end or at the beginning, I recommended this, but there we go. There's some information in the Galen cloud, mdeg, how you reach out to them, that sort of thing. But please give Galen and mdeg, for that matter, a follow on LinkedIn for more of this great content. Stay tuned for the April webinar, which will be the 42nd Galen Data webinar series. And Christoph and Abbas, thanks so much for doing this and kind of walking us through the whole process of actually taking a device and getting it connected and connected to the cloud.
Yeah, I just want to add, if there are questions we didn't answer, we'll definitely reach out via email or some other form and get those questions answered.
Yeah, be great.
Be free to contact us. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Christoph. Thanks, Wayne.